And so now we have the wonderful experience of Reverend Valerie Reeves, who's stepping up to the platform in the spotlight.
Good morning, thank you, Reverend Catherine. It's the best day ever, yes. I did that for Monica Ruth. She's like, you used to always do that, and you haven't done that in a while. And I'm like, okay, best day ever. Let's declare that. It is the best day ever. Because if we state it, then we create it. And when Reverend Catherine was mentioning Cesar Chavez and that it's possible, I was thinking of the first workshop. It took me on a road trip in my mind. The first workshop I ever did on creating a life you love. And my friend and I were doing this workshop. This has been like 30 years ago. And I said, oh, it'd be great. We'll have my sister come down the aisle dressed as a fairy godmother and sing It's Possible from, Cinderella. It's possible for a plain yellow pumpkin to become a golden carriage. It's possible. And if that's possible, anything that we create is possible. So today I'm actually talking about curiosity. Curiosity is my superpower. How many of you are pretty curious? How many of you ask a lot of questions? I think of a 3-year-old, it's like, why? And I do that a lot more than I used to. When I was young, growing up in Nebraska, and I was pretty shy. And people are like, well, how could you be so shy? Because now you're so different. It's like, well, I had to push myself out of my comfort zone. And I love this philosophy so much that it's like, I just want to share it. And I used to be afraid in classes to ask questions. That I don't want to look stupid. I'll just pretend like I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And it's like, I don't know what they're talking about. And I finally decided it's okay for me to look stupid to everyone else. I need to know for myself. And curiosity is the willingness to know and to learn. So asking the question, raising my hand, I don't understand. Please tell me more. The more we can ask those questions, the more empowered we are. So the more we stay curious, the more we get to learn. And there's that wonderful book, Start With Why. Why? Why am I doing this? Why did I show up today? What's going on underneath everything? So being in that space of why, or what, or who, or how am I going to do this? And sometimes we maybe have some big dreams and we don't know how. So it's like, okay, let me just take it to spirit. How am I going to do this? How do I get the support I need? Asking those questions and not being afraid to ask people, would you mind helping me? Because sometimes we're afraid of that rejection, and it's not about you, it's about them. They're just busy, or whatever their situation is. But not taking it personal and just saying, okay, next. Who else would want to help me? You want to help me with this project? I got this project going on. Help me, please. Staying curious. Eleanor Roosevelt said, life was meant to be lived, and curiosity must be kept alive. So we want to stay curious. And one of my favorite books was by Byron Katie, Who Would You Be Without Your Story? The title says a lot. And she asks for questions. In fact, I went to a workshop of hers, and all she did was process people all day long. She just kept asking the 4 questions, because people would be like, I'm this way because of my father or my mother or this, or whatever story they were dragging around with them. And she would say, is it true? Yes. Is it really true? In my mind? How do you feel with that thought? It's like, well, I don't feel very good about that. It doesn't make me feel good to have that thought that I was unlovable, or that this situation happened, or my parents didn't want me, or whatever our story is. Who would you be without that story? And just watching people, regardless of what was going on in their life, it's like my sister didn't love me, or they fired me from this job, and it makes me feel unworthy, or whatever story we're telling ourselves. It's like, put that story down and create a new story. Once upon a time, somebody amazing and magical was born. And create the story that you want, putting those intentions out there. Here's what I'm wanting. Now, Oriah Mountain Dreamer did it a little bit different. She wrote a book called The Invitation. Have any of you read The Invitation? Oh, it's such a beautiful book. She wrote The Invitation, and then she wrote The Dance, and then she wrote The Calling, and how to do the calling. So she was at a party, And in her book, she talks about how she was at a party and people were so superficial. I've gone to this college, I've got this degree, I've got that. And she's like, I don't want to know that. What I really want to know is something deeper, because I think we can only do surface for so long. In fact, I dated a guy once and I said, we don't have very deep conversations. And he's like, I'm really just not that deep. I'm like, bye. At least he could admit it. It's like, thank you for admitting it. Because when you want to have those deep, meaningful conversations or relationships, and he just said, I'd rather sit on the couch and watch Green Acres. And I'm like, okay. I'm really just not that deep. And it's like, I am. And so it doesn't work to just have these shallow conversations. Let's plunge deep. And Oriah Mountain Dreamer, she writes this on the outside cover of her book. It's a beautiful poem, and I'm just going to read a couple of the lines. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dreams, for the adventure of being alive. I love that. She goes into more, but she concludes with, it doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else fails. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments. I love that so much. Can you be alone with yourself? And all of us got that opportunity, mostly, unless you have a bunch of kids still living at home or you have a significant other. During COVID, we had the opportunity to do that. And years prior to that, I spent 3 months up at Mount Madonna Yoga Retreat Center up in Santa Cruz Mountains. And for 3 months, it's like there's no TV, there's a lot of meditation happening. You're living with the same people that you're working with. And I found myself on days that I had off, it's like I just need to get down the mountain, because I really had to face myself and face who I am and sit with my own thoughts and feelings. And I did a lot of purging, a lot of journaling, and a lot of escaping during that time. It's like, let me get down the mountain for a little bit. I just need to interject with other people rather than the ones I'm around. But when I finally got to the space of being able to just sit there and be there and just be in the awesomeness. And when I was up there, it was so interesting because there's a lot of the younger generation that go there just kind of let me experience this yoga retreat. And I did do some yoga. I did restorative yoga that, they spend most of the time in savasana, which is corpse pose. So that was my favorite. And in that wonderful retreat center, I'm out on the deck and it overlooks all the Santa Cruz Mountains. And it's about sundown. And all of these younger kids come running up. They've just, graduated from high school. They're out there on this wonderful excursion. And they come running up on the deck and I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, sunset. I'm like, whoa, I love that. It gave me so much faith in the younger generation that it's like they want to see the sunset. They want to explore. They want to celebrate that. And how can I, asking my own self, how can I make sure that I'm celebrating those things in life? We have so much to be grateful in this country. So much to be grateful in Redondo Beach, California. Because let me tell you, being a small farm girl in Nebraska, we would watch, all the beach party movies, Annette Funicelli and Frankie Avalon, and it's like, we just want to be at the beach. And my sister and I talk about how we manifested all the things that had to happen for us to get out to California when I was in high school. This had to happen, and that had to happen, this had to happen, because there's no way we would have just picked up and moved to California, but all these different things that happened. And so we celebrate that so much to be able to be out here in this wonderful place. And not that I haven't moved around a lot and back to Nebraska a time or 2 or 3, or maybe 4. But celebrating wherever we are, knowing that this experience and journey through life, that there's something that's wanting to unfold. And staying in that curiosity, what is mine to know today? And what is my intention? And am I hiding anything from myself? We talked about this in the book reading yesterday, The Untethered Soul. It's like, are we hiding things from ourselves? Are we stuffing things down? Are we aware of our feelings? Are we aware of what's going on, or are we just kind of keep on moving through and not going too deep? Plunge the depth of who you are and be excited about that. How do I do that? Great question. And for me, it's setting that intention every single day and then checking in with myself at the end of the night before I go to bed. Did I honor myself today? Did I cherish myself today? Did I listen to my own feelings, or did I just stuff them down? And when my children were little, my 4 beautiful, amazing children, my 4 children were born in 3 3/4 years. In fact, the doctor, when I was pregnant with the 4th one, he said, so this one's going to be born before the first one is 4. And I said, yeah. And he's like, how'd that happen? I'm like, well, now I'm scared. You're the doctor. It's 9 months. So, and 4 kids pretty quickly. And it was amazing and wonderful. And what I found is that with children, they learn 3 ways: 1 by example, 2 by example, 3 by example. So if I'm not being a good example for them, then I am not training them well. So if I'm not loving myself, I'm not being a great example for them. And I remember, sometimes you get a phone call and I'm not here. Anybody ever do that? You tell everybody else, I'm not here. And then I thought, I need to own up to it. If I don't want to take that call, let me just say, I'm busy right now. I'll get back to you. Thanks for calling. But not avoiding it, and not avoiding my feelings, and not avoiding that calling that's happening. Shaka Gawain, in her book Creative Visualization, talks about how our inner knower keeps guiding and moving us in the direction of our dreams. And if we don't listen, it just gets louder. You need to listen. And if we still don't listen, it gets a little louder. And if we still don't listen, it'll just bump us off our feet. So listening to that inner knower, honoring it, not trying to hide from it. And owning up if I've made a mistake, owning up to it, being honest with myself and the people around me. It creates our own integrity. How do I feel about me at the end of the day? And if I haven't taken responsibility for the things that I'm doing, saying, then I've kind of just been a fake. I want to be real and plunge those depths. There once was a farmer, and there was a vacant well that he didn't know about, and his donkey happened to fall in the well. And he's looking in there thinking, how do I get this donkey out? I don't know how to get him out. He's like, I guess I'll just leave him there. And pretty soon he's thinking, the townspeople will really think bad of me if they see that I've just left my donkey in there. So he decided to cover him up, taking the dirt and shoveling it over. And every time some hit the donkey, he'd shake it off, stomp it down. Farmer kept dishing up the dirt. He'd shake it off, stomp it down. Pretty soon, there was so much dirt that the donkey had stomped down that he just walked out. And the farmer thought, well, that's good. That worked out for me. Well, the donkey was really mad. So he went and bit the farmer in the butt. Moral of the story, if you try to hide your ass, you will be bit in the butt. So it's like we want to be true, we want to be real, and we want to be real to ourselves. It's like, I'm sorry, I know it's the moral of the story. So we want to make sure that we are being true to ourselves, being true to our calling, and being true to the reason that we're here. And if we need help, because I was thinking about the farmer, it's like, well, why didn't he just go tell people, look at my donkey fell in the hole, could you all come help me? But sometimes we're so afraid of that rejection of people saying no, or how did this happen, or why did you do that, that we don't ask. It's okay to ask people, because when we ask, we give people the opportunity to give. And it's always good to keep that giving and receiving. Giving and receiving the same thing. If you cannot be a gracious giver, if you cannot be a gracious receiver, you cannot be a gracious giver. Because many times we're giving, yet not keeping open. Reverend Brian Anderson, who was one of my first teachers in this teaching, he would say, when people want to give you money, you say, thank you. Got any more? Keep yourself open. Be willing to accept. Because sometimes you go to lunch with somebody and everybody's like, no, I'll get it. No, I'll get it. And there's like this fight over who's going to get lunch. It's like, just say thank you. Great, thank you. Happy to receive. Giving, receiving, same thing. and lighten up on ourselves. It's like, yeah, we don't have to be perfect. We just are who we are. I remember because we were talking about lip color on the way in here, and it made me think about a time when I had dropped, my dad had given me his pickup. After he passed away, I got his pickup. It was kind of that's the plan. I will get his old pickup because I loved that pickup. And I had the pickup and it was breaking down, and I took it into the shop, and I kind of thought I knew exactly what's wrong, but I left it for them, and the guy called me and said, well, it's really this. And so I was at a Starbucks, because I normally am, and I'm walking back, and I've got the phone, and I'm talking to my brother. I'm carrying my Starbucks, and I'm telling my brother, he's saying it's this, but I don't think that's right. I love my brother. He validated my existence and my knowledge, and he's like, no, you're right. I'm like, I know. So I'm thinking, well, I'm getting back there. I should probably put on some lip color because I look kind of a mess. So I'm walking and talking. I'm kind of holding the Starbucks and putting on the lip color as I'm walking. And I get in there, and I kind of had this attitude with the guy. It's like, I think I know a little more than you. So I'm going to go ahead and take my pickup, and I'm going to do something else with it. He's like, okay, here's your keys. So I go to my truck, and I'm adjusting the mirror, and I noticed that my lip color is all over the place. I thought that poor guy, he was just sitting there thinking, okay, crazy lady, you know more than me, here's your keys. It's like sometimes we just have to know that, you know what, sometimes we look a fool, and that's okay. Lighten up on ourselves, let go of it. If we've made mistakes in the past, do what we can to clean it up. Forgive ourselves most importantly. Forgive myself, move on. Love myself through the process. On Sunday, I did a workshop where we did get rings. We did a commitment to ourselves to love, honor, and cherish ourselves. I think it's a great commitment because we make that commitment to other people in the world at times, but taking that every single day, how will I love, honor, and cherish myself today? And I love that word cherish because it's just so rich. It's like, let me take care of myself and cherish myself in loving, wonderful ways. And let me be clear on what my goal, my purpose, my intention for this day is. And not that we have to make it big. It could be just to have fun. Let me just have fun. Let me see the ocean today. Because when we live this close, let's see the ocean today. Ernest Holmes says this: you are eternal beings now on the pathway of endless unfoldment, never less but always more yourself. Life is not static, it is forever dynamic, forever creating not something done and finished, but something alive, awake, and aware. There is something within you that sings the song of eternity. Listen to it. And when I wake up in the morning, I use those words. I am alive, awake, aware. I usually add, ready for the goodness of life. I'm alive, awake, aware. Before my feet hit the ground, I am alive, awake, aware, ready for the goodness of life. Are you alive? Yes. Are you awake? Are you aware? Because sometimes we just want to get into that zone, and I don't really want to pay attention. I just want to do, and we just become a human doing instead of a human being. So how am I being with myself? Am I reminding myself that this is the best day ever, that I'm alive, awake, aware? Am I celebrating and cherishing myself? These are the questions to ask. This is the thing to stay curious about. How am I being me? How am I moving forward? How am I letting go of that story? And then come up with ways to keep letting go when you get into that story that does not serve you. Because sometimes we can run ourselves ragged, jump on that negative train thought. And it's like, when I get there, how can I make sure that I jump off that train and jump on the train going in a better thought direction? How many of you have siblings? Quite a few of you? Okay. So my sister and I get into arguments once in a while about things that we remember in the past. I remember it this way, and she remembers it that way. It's like, no, it was this way, I know. And she'll be on the same, I know it was this way. When we compare stories, it's different because we forget. And years ago, I took some landmark training, and they drew 2 circles. One circle is, here's what happened. Here's your story about what happened. And the 2 circles, somewhere in the middle, we get confused with what really happened and our story about what happened. Because maybe my mother said, no, you shouldn't do that, and I took it as she doesn't love me. She doesn't think I'm smart enough, good enough, whatever. And then we grab that story and we hang on to it. Put that story down. That's not the truth. It's interesting when we look underneath and underneath and underneath. That's not exactly what happened. And so when we look at the truth, I don't know the truth of things. My sister is sure that she got the Mary Poppins doll, and I got the Alice in Wonderland doll, and it's like, no, I got the Mary Poppins doll. So it's like we fought back and forth about it, and it's like, who cares? Does it matter? It doesn't even matter, but sometimes we'll fight to be right. Rather than being right, let's just be kind and let it go. And most of all, let's be kind to ourselves. I don't have to prove anything. Just because my mom said this doesn't mean I wasn't lovable, doesn't mean I wasn't smart. Or just because my father said this, or my sister said that, or my 2nd grade teacher said this, it doesn't matter. All that matters is what we think about ourselves. Because whether you think you're the highest of the high or the lowest of the low, the only thing that matters is your thoughts about yourself, regardless of what anybody else judges. So love yourself today. Be curious. Wonder why I did that. That's interesting. Let me go a little deeper. Let me do some journaling on that. Because journaling brings me 360. It brings me all the way back to, oh, now I get it. That's why I did that. So love, honor, cherish yourself today. Stay in that curiosity. And even look at, how is today the best day ever? Well, it's the best day ever because I make it that way. And if something goes wrong, I'm just going to get past it, move forward, keep going. And so with that, I am knowing today is the best day ever. Is there any comments, questions, words of wisdom? Anybody got a question?
We have a sleepy group.
Yeah, that's okay. I still know you're alive. You're awake, kind of. Yes! And that's okay. Sometimes it's like, okay, there are no questions right now. Maybe somebody's wanting a treatment.
My bear.
Your bear wants a treatment? And here comes Melissa with the microphone. Is there something from online? Okay. Ed, my friend Ed. Yeah. Thank you.
So part of the reason why I'm delighted to be here, because I'm a school teacher, and on Wednesdays I have planning time. I'm a special education teacher.
Nice.
And when you were on the podcast with us, we started talking about how I'm looking around, like, about the potential of moving to the next thing. I'm feeling called to. I've been in this field for 25 years, and the treatment is just regarding like the clarity, because I'm finding that as I appreciate the job more, it feels really good, because I decided I'm not going to get out of it by cursing it. I'm going to appreciate it. But then sometimes that feels like then I got to stay there if I appreciate it, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So that's part of what's been on my mind today. So maybe some sort of treatment around clarity around this, connecting with the joyful thing that seems to be calling me when I allow it to come through.
Yeah, I love that.
All right.
Happy to do that.
Thank you.
Okay. And let him have the microphone for just a second, too, because Ed does do a podcast. Could you tell him what your podcast name is?
Oh, yeah. Our podcast is called Funniest Thing with Daryl and Ed. Mm-hmm. We share new thought principles. We have great teachers like Reverend Valerie was recently on the show. We're on YouTube or wherever people listen to podcasts. I do have cards if anyone's interested, even in just watching or listening to the episode that Reverend Valerie was recently on, because it was amazing. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Lots of great podcasts out there. And I love that there's new thought movement and things and podcasts out there, people having discussions about things that are so important to us. And it's really easy to run into this podium. And it's really, really easy to get caught up in our adult self. And it's like, how do I do this? How do I do this? I did an exercise with our group on Sunday at the workshop that sometimes just becoming that joyful child and imagining that you're on a playground, just swinging and free and asking, how do I do this? The simplicity comes out, and it's so beautiful. And I am knowing complete clarity. So what I'm going to do, unless anybody else is wanting a treatment, I am going to do a treatment for all of us. Because clarity is a great thing to have, knowing our next step and our next step. So I'm going to know that this is good. All right, let's take in a deep cleansing breath. And when we exhale, just letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go of any thoughts that do not serve us, continuing to let them go. Knowing that the infinite intelligence of the universe flows right where we are. It's right where I am, it's right where you are. That infinite intelligence is guiding and directing, and there is that inner song that is singing through all of us. That wonderful creativity inside of us, whether we think we're creative or not, just by showing up, we have created a life that's unique and special and amazing. And in this wonderful, beautiful, intelligent universe, I speak my word and claim that there is divine clarity, that each and every day that we just tap in, plug in, charge up to that infinite intelligence. And we just allow, as we're plugged in, the intelligence to flow through and guide and direct us. Knowing that as we color, as we paint, as we sing, as we dance, as we walk, as we write, the words and the clarity become even clearer every single moment, that we just allow Spirit to sing through us. That we just say yes, yes, yes to the unfoldment, knowing that all the right people show up, the right doors open, the right calls are made, knowing that the universe is conspiring for our highest and best always. What is mine to do? And in this, not having to know every step of the way, knowing that each step by step by step will be presented with ease, with grace, with love, with joy, as we just stay open to that clarity, allowing the ideas and the goodness, like a magnet, to come to us, knowing there is divine clarity, and in great gratitude, knowing this clarity for each and every one of us, the divine unfoldment, the excitement, the joy of life flows right here, right now, as I just release my word into the universal action of the law, knowing all is well. And so it is. Okay. All right. And now I'm going to have our beautiful, amazing usher come on down as we get to share our gifts, our tithes, our offerings, and knowing that our words and our direction continue to flow so beautifully. As we all say our words together, they're up here on the wall. Divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, to bless, and to prosper all those who give and all those who receive. I rejoice in the sharing of my good, and I release my gift with love, and so it is. Knowing that as we continue to give, we always receive. Knowing that life is good. Knowing that we are divinely blessed. I am so blessed. As we continue to declare that this is the best day ever, staying in that curiosity. And with that curiosity, making sure that we're saying it with love. Why'd you do that? And not judging ourselves. Why did I lose that? But, that happened. All right, let me move on. So what if I misplace my keys? I'll find them. It must mean that I'm just going to be somewhere at the divine right time, and universe wanted me to slow down just a little bit. So handling ourselves with care. And in that love space, I declare today, best day ever. Have a great day. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.